Welcome back to the Dirt Path podcast. So far on the show, we've had a pretty good mix of people, but most of them have fallen into two categories. One is an entrepreneur. I left my job almost about 5 months ago now, and I'm currently working on building my own business. So it's been great for me to be able to learn from people a bit ahead of me in that route, as well as digital nomads. I'm a digital nomad myself. I've been a nomad for almost 5 years now, and I'm currently traveling. When I recorded the episode today, as you'll see, I was in Chiang Mai, Thailand, and now I'm in Koh Phangan, a Thai island. And so those are mostly the circles that I run in and the friends that I keep and the people that I'm really inspired by. And we've really delved into both the nomading and the entrepreneur, but not a ton of how they come together, right? The highs, the lows, the realities of being a digital nomad and an entrepreneur. And so this episode is great for anybody who's interested in both. Maybe you're an online entrepreneur already, but you got a base somewhere and you're interested in traveling. Maybe it's only 3-6 months a year or full time. Maybe you've been a digital nomad like myself for a while with a 9-to-5 and you're curious about creating your own business while you continue traveling. Or maybe you want to completely change the whole lifestyle. This is your end goal. And you want to see a real conversation with people who are actually in it. So without further ado, today's trailblazer is Chris Cerra. Chris has been traveling full-time as a nomad since 2018, as we'll get into in the story. And so we talked about his journey from starting at a 9-to-5 in that nomad journey to eventually leaving and pursuing entrepreneurship full-time. And hint, he's now on his third business. If you're already a digital nomad or interested in it and you've been doing a little bit of research, you probably know Chris. He's been pretty well known as he's become a top 50 remote enabler in 2023. He was named in 2024 a remote influencer. And the last few years has become an international keynote speaker on various digital nomad stages across the globe. Finally, talking about his actual businesses, he's also become the newsletter guy in our circles, where all of his businesses have to deal with newsletters. His first one being remote based, which helps people find great deals on accommodations around the world. His second being Digital Nomad Trip Report, where you get to hear from actual nomads and their actual experience staying in a place for an elongated time. Both of these are great resources for any current or aspiring digital nomad. And now with Mad Banana Media, he helps creators or people with existing email lists learn how to own their audience and monetize that newsletter. But lastly, and why I'm really excited to share this episode with you all today, is Chris has become one of my best of friends. I've seen him now in multiple countries around the world. And for the last few years, we've seen each other at least once, and usually for around a month, which when you start to become a digital nomad, you very quickly realize how important community is. And while you can build that for, the 1 or 2, 3 months you're in a place, more down the line, as you keep changing places, or even if you return to a place, the same people might not be there, it can be really difficult to build those elongated relationships, get to those next level of relationships. So Chris and his partner Sam are some of the people that we prioritize and trying to see when we can. So without further ado, let's go take a walk with Chris. Chris, there's a lot I want to get to today around nomading, entrepreneurship. And usually with the podcast, I start with some sort of casual question, like what you're up to now. But for you, I want to do something a little bit different. I actually want to start with a really tough and hard question to start now that I kind of have you cornered.
Right.
When are you going to be launching Cupid Chris Matchmaking? Because the people, Chris, want it and they want to know.
Coming to a page near you very soon. No, I honestly don't know. I think about that as it's like one of the 10 or 15 ideas that just keeps coming back to me. I'm sure, I don't know, maybe I'll get to it one day. But then by the time I have headspace for it, maybe it's like a dead idea.
Maybe.
Which is okay.
Yeah.
just for background for everybody, like Chris is the reason me and Paige got together. That's why we call him Cupid Chris. We were both posting on LinkedIn. Chris had just met up with Paige or did like a video chat, right? After meeting on LinkedIn. I posted something on LinkedIn and then I mentioned I was in South Africa. He comments, so you guys should meet up. And that's the story. And now Chris just completed his third, couple of bringing together. So it's no longer a coincidence. It is a real thing. But yeah, so if you're interested in finding nomad love or love in general, please DM Chris. And one day maybe he'll make that happen. If he gets enough DMs, maybe he'll move that to the top of his list.
Right. Thanks very much for that.
No, man, I'm excited to be here. Me and Chris, pretty good mates. Gotten really close like these last couple years. We've been spending more time together, like a month in Bulgaria, a month here at Chiang Mai. And it's awesome to have those repeat connections. I think when you're nomading, right, like you are constantly meeting new people, which can be exciting. But when you find somebody you really like and you can continue to build on that, it's really powerful. So I'm excited to have you on because I know a lot about your story, but I think I'm going to learn even more about you, which would be cool. Chris, when I think of you, there's a lot of labels that come up. Obviously, digital nomad, entrepreneur, banana man, Cupid Chris, nomad accommodation guy. There's a lot that come up, but for me, for whatever reason, I've always just seen you as entrepreneur. Like that's the one for me that comes up the most. I'm curious before I want to get into a lot of nomading entrepreneurship with you, but of those labels, or is there a different label that you most connect to?
I mean, obviously the first one is Banana Man. No, which for context is funny because I'm famous for eating 2 bananas a day among our friends. And the consulting business is called Mad Banana Media. But no, you know what? That's actually quite a tough question because I don't think I do. I don't think I do actually wear a label, or I don't think I like try to wear a label. I think I just am. So it's all very profound. No, I don't think I do. I think it's interesting that that's the one that, like, entrepreneur is the one that jumps to the top of the list for you. Why?
I don't know. You have multiple businesses going on, but I think it's when we interact, it's like how you think. It's what is like a lot of the questions that you ask. It's what's on the mind. You're constantly like, oh, that could be a business idea, or you've helped me with different things over the years. I think of you as a lot of things, but for whatever reason, that's the one that comes top to mind for me. It's just the entrepreneurial in how you go about life, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I try to be. I feel like entrepreneur is a label that one cannot give oneself. It's like saying that you're modest. Like other people, that should really be saved for like what other people say about you. So it's nice that you say that. Thank you.
Of course. But you weren't always an entrepreneur. You did start out with a 9-to-5, right? Can you talk about when you were in the 9-to-5, what you were doing?
Yeah. This is interesting, actually. I think this is interesting because I do often think about this. Like, I had lots of very, very different jobs. And I think that's a good signal that you might be good doing your own thing. Because it's like you have to be able to adapt and change and do different stuff. The role that I had before I was working for myself was at like a small financial services company in London, which is like the polar opposite of what people think of when they think about like freedom and flexibility and like progressive company culture, like typically an industry that's quite traditional, or like buttoned up and very like by the book. So culturally, it was a really cool place to work because they broke a lot of the typical rules. But I was there for like 6 years.
And you started in the office, right? Was that in Manchester or London?
That was in London, so yeah, like getting into a bit of like a CV, but the kind of long arc of the career progression was actually when I graduated, I studied marketing and advertising.
Hmm.
I went straight into working in a startup, which I think is also another like proving ground for people who are eventually going to work for themselves.
Yeah.
That was a learning experience because my last duties at that role were to sell the office furniture because the startup didn't secure like the next round of investment.
Hmm.
So you kind of like you learn a lot quite quickly when when someone sits down, like a founder who like, you know, I think founders are like idealized a little bit or
Right.
idolized a little bit. So when you've got this person who's like running the company that you have joined and believe in and are working for, and they're like, cool, so today is Thursday, and on Wednesday you won't have a job. That changes a lot about how like I think that tells you told me very very quickly that like no job is really secure. And I actually think going if I think about it more now, I kind of always knew I wanted to work for myself even when I was younger. I just didn't really know what that was going to be. And like my dad had his own business, my granddad had his own business, so I knew that I kind of knew it was a thing,
Yeah.
but I didn't really know what the business would be for me. And so I was kind of just following the highway until my exit arrived, until I was at my exit point. So the startups first, then had a company with some friends, which started and stopped very quickly, and then I was working in an agency that developed mobile apps. So we were building apps for businesses, not written like not like building Candy Crush. It was like, hey, these engineers need to go around a building with like 250 things to check, and they need an app to help them do it. So we would like build that and make them pay for that. And then that was the role. And how like tech adjacent that role was is what led me to the financial services role. So it was a really kind of windy path.
And was it the financial services role that you eventually went nomad? Right.
Yeah.
So how did that story come
Right.
to
So
be?
the question was like, yeah, I already started waffling, but the question was about being in office or not. So for that previous role, was in London and I'd moved to Bristol, which is maybe like a couple hours away, but I was commuting. I was living in London and I spent half my week in a city which was like 2 hours away. So the commute was killing me. And I was like, maybe I could just move to this other city and do the commute the other way. But then that company got acquired, lots of things changed. I found this financial services role, and I was like, oh, well, obviously I need to move back to London. Obviously, that's just obviously what's going to happen. So I moved back to London for it, and I'm sat on like the first week doing like the team onboarding, team introductions, getting to know the rest of the team. Bunch of people in the office, a couple of people working from home, whatever. And I get on a call with this guy, Jeff, and Jeff's in Croatia. Now, that was a very important moment because first of all, I'm like, what do you mean you're in Croatia? And then I'm like, oh, I could be in Croatia. But it's like week one. So obviously I'm not doing that. And this is like 2016. So it's way before like the buzzword of remote work. And it's before everyone's had like no one's been force fed remote work yet. So it was still like not really something that a lot of people understood. But the company was essentially, like, I would call them remote friendly. Like, they weren't remote first, but they were remote friendly. The official policy was like, you can work from anywhere at any time without telling anyone anything, as long as it doesn't impact business. So it's like, as long as you get stuff done, all good. Don't ask, don't tell. And that was it. So I kind of got myself bedded in for a few months, and then I met Sam, my girlfriend, and who you know. And that was then like part of the reason that me and Sam bonded so much, was because we both love to travel. So we would be living in London, but we would be taking like a weekend trip like once a month or something. And then as I got more kind of comfortable in this role, and I'd had more conversations with Jeff, it became clear to me that like I could go on this path, which I still consider like, maybe it's like phase 1 dirt path. It's like way off what is considered normal at this point, but still working for a company. But the problem then was like, Sam couldn't do that. Sam had to go to the office. So then we went through this process of Sam trying to get her employer to let her be remote, and that didn't really work out. So she left that role, and she found something new, and there's a whole story there. But that was kind of how it happened. It started in the office, and like literally the first week I was like, shut the front door. I can do what? And subconsciously at the time, I remember the moment actually. I remember like the exact moment, but I think there's a bit of a build up to that.
Okay.
Where subconsciously I'm like recognizing that this was something that's not normal, but not really. Like, again, 2016, like no one's like, digital nomad isn't a trending search term.
Right. And were you full nomad already at that point, or just like traveling for a couple months with your home base still in London and everything?
For a long time, we kept a base in London. This is like, I feel like we had a accelerated onboarding to this lifestyle. I talked about that role that Sam leaving her role to get a different remote role. And actually what happened was she got this job where travel was mandated. It was like, we are hiring somebody who will travel.
Oh, wow, okay.
We will send you to these places and you will be there for this length of time, and then you will go to the next place and the next place. So she did something like 26 or 27 cities in a year.
Wow.
Only 52 weeks in a year. It was crazy. And I basically, like, I piggybacked onto as many of those as possible. Some of them were great and very easy, like logistically, and we had warning. And others were like, she gets a call on Monday morning, and they're like, hey, on Wednesday you're flying to New York. So it's like, okay, I'm probably going to sit this one out. Logistically, it's just not, wasn't possible. But I did a lot of that with her, and that taught us that fast is bad and that we need to go a lot slower. So after that, the year contract turned into like 14 months. But after that, that was when we went to Portugal, and we went there for like 3 months. And that was it. That was like, okay, this is how we do it now. And I think that from that point on, we still had a home base in the UK, or like at least with friends and family. And we just used it less and less and less, until the point where we didn't have a home base there. Yeah.
And how long, excuse me, were you with your 9 to 5 until you left to start your own thing?
Yes. Actually, no. Like I started it as when I started it, it wasn't really a business. It was just a shiny project on the side.
While you're
Obviously,
still at the company?
yeah. So I had these like very big ambitions and ideas, which will be in keeping with the way you talk about like how I think in general. But it was all very like far off, distant. You know, you're still chained to this paycheck. So you're not, you know, I think when you're chained to a paycheck, a lot of the time and energy gets spent on that. So by the time it comes down to like actually working on the 5 to 9 project, all of your good juice is gone. And you're just running on fumes. So it was fun. And I did that for a while. And then really it was like when the world was re-emerging after the pandemic, that was the trigger point for me. It was like, if I don't do this now, I'm never going to do it. And I'm never going to know.
Mm-hmm.
I think for me, like a big part of it is like, can I do it? Like there's a challenge in any of the business endeavors, which is like, you have the idea, and then you're like, oh, but can I do it? Like, am I really good enough to execute it? And so that's like the fun bit, like figuring out if you can do it.
Mm-hmm.
For me, at least. It's also the painful bit and the hard bit. But it's when you get it right, it's the really fun bit.
Mm-hmm.
So I tried to leave my job, and they were like, absolutely no way, we can't lose you. So then we ended up negotiating a deal where I went part-time, but it was stupid. It was like, I didn't want to work. I wanted to work 3 days a week, and they wanted me to work 4 days a week. So like all bad negotiations, we met in the middle.
Right.
And I worked 3.5 days a week, which meant that day, like day 4, where I'm doing half a day, means that I'm not really committed to either project.
Yeah.
And it was really good for like the first 2 months. Was it just felt like I had a 3-day weekend and didn't really make any progress. Then the few months after that, I felt like I made more progress. And then eventually I was like, I'm just doing 2 things badly. Like I've got to do this if I'm going to do it. So that's when I left. And at that point, like the newsletter project wasn't making any money still. It was still just like a seed that I could see this amazing tree that would eventually blossom, but it wasn't there yet. So I just went all in, basically.
In pausing on the business side for a second, on the Nomad side, do you know how many countries you've lived in at this point?
Like at that moment in time?
No, from when you started to now, just a ballpark for the audience.
I think I'm like mid-30s, which is not like, I don't aggressively like country count.
Mm-hmm. You guys returned to a lot of places.
Yeah, like I figured it out. We've probably over the last like 8 years, we've spent like 2 years plus in Thailand, which is great. Like I love that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so for the audience, you have your home base, I would say now, is Chiang Mai, especially more this year. Like you guys are doing your first 6-month stay, right? And it's been like that for a few years. I mean, coming back for like 7-8 years to Chiang Mai.
Yeah.
And then how do you do the rest of your travels right now? Like you kind of have a couple places you like to return to. I know you go back to see family in the UK.
We probably spend like 1 to 2 months a year in the UK. Then we spend like 5 to 6 months out in Thailand. And then the rest of the time, it's like 3-4 months is usually made up of like a little bit of travel around Europe, maybe a longer stint somewhere else, or just like, I guess we try to keep that for like introducing new things to the cycle. So for a long time we would cycle through maybe 2 or 3 locations a year with some time at home, but then there was always a couple months or 2-3 months a year where we'd want to test a new location or a couple of new locations. And then what happens is you go to somewhere great and you're like, oh, maybe I really like this. This could maybe be better than country number 3 that's in the existing cycle. And then you just switch them out. And sadly, one of those places falls off the cycle and you introduce the new place.
Yeah.
and maybe that stays stable for a couple of years, but then, you know, the cycle moves naturally. And the other thing is locations change. Like, Chiang Mai is a place that we've returned to, but it's also changed a lot over the years, as has, you know, Bansko or
Right.
Porto. Like, we were pretty consistently going to Porto every year for like 3-4 years. And then things, I don't know, I feel like I love Portugal. I'm not going to say bad things about a place, but like, it just changed to the point where like we enjoyed it a bit less.
Sure.
And now when we go back there, actually, we tend to go for like a shorter stay, and it's more like a holiday. But yeah, I think it's important to say, you know, places change. That's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I'm traveling, doing the podcast, trying to do it in person. You know, I do have a mix of people coming on, but most are fellow nomads because those are just the circles that I run in. And I think sometimes I gloss over the fact of like the nomad life a little bit, but it's an amazing thing that like most people listening, I think it's one of the things that they might be trying to achieve. And I guess with that, before we pivot back to the business, do you have like a single moment that you think of like your nomad high, this thing that you were living on top of the world in terms of, you know, traveling and nomading? Anything come to mind?
Oh, yeah, there's probably a couple. Like, my best friend got married in Colombia. His wife's Colombian, and they live in Europe. But the wedding was in Colombia because like huge family, like better weather, kind of like nicer to do out there. So it was really cool to go to that and be like I had friends who were like flying in a couple of days before, flying out like the day after because of work commitments. And I was just like, it's so nice that I get to like really have this quality time with everyone here. So that was a big one. For one of my big birthdays, Sam organized a scuba diving trip in the Caribbean. So I'm like, that's pretty fun. It's the kind of thing where like logistically it would have been a lot more difficult to organize if we weren't already in the region. And those, for me, those are the ones where I'm like, oh, like that's really like those kind of experiences are like what's accessible that wouldn't otherwise be accessible. I think that's really, really good. I also I'm a big Formula One fan. So we were in Malaysia and it was like Singapore Grand Prix. Okay. Like let's, you know, it's a 4-hour bus ride from Malaysia. Let's do that. You know, compared to like flying from London to Singapore for the whole thing is for a weekend, you know, it's a lot more logistically taxing. So that to me is super cool that you can do that. And that's, you know, people will have different versions of this. Like if you love being in the mountains or be it like skiing, like a lot of people like to go do a season and maybe they do it like when they finish university because maybe that's the only chance they get. And it's like, no, like take your laptop to the mountain and go skiing every day.
You can really set the life up to whatever you're trying to achieve, which is something I love about it. Now, it can very easily slip out of that, and all of a sudden you blink and you've been like 6 months of fast travel and you're not really going to place necessarily that you're aligned with for whatever reason. But if you're really intentional, you can very much set it up like I did, you know, a month, 6 weeks in Peru kite surfing, and then, you know, a month here for this specific thing, or 3 months here, you know, for community and to see friends and stuff like that. But I think that intentionality is really important, as well as, like you said, like the accessibility of when you do live out of a suitcase, like there's some things that you just have a bit more freely than other people, right? Okay, so going back, you are in the 9 to 5, you broker like the part-time, you eventually decide to leave and say, I'm going to go all in on this. How long before you made that decision to you felt like, okay, I can do this? Like it's starting to pick up. You're starting to, you know, make a little bit more money off of it, or some money. And yeah, you're like, this is going to be it.
I'll let you know when I get there. No, I think, like, I say that semi-seriously.
Sure.
Because it's kind of like, you know, let's say you don't do this. Let's say you get a mortgage on a house. You're always going to want a bigger house. You buy a new car, and the minute you drive the new car away, you're thinking about the next car.
Mm-hmm.
Or at least that's what a lot of people do. So like, I think the same mentality applies when you're building your own things. That said, the first pound, dollar, euro, whatever that you make on the internet is just like, it just hits different. Like, making that money is like, it's like a drug. It's so good.
Yeah.
There is, so like when I finished that job, and I walked away, like I just said, like, I'd not really monetized the newsletter yet. Or I'd maybe done some like small partnership, like advertising deals, but the list was really small. But I launched a paid version of the email newsletter. That was the project, right? Like, context, the business is an email newsletter business. And I finished the job Easter 2022, like just before the Easter break. So it's like I was working 3.5 days a week. So it was like Wednesday afternoon was when I officially finished. And on the Friday night, or like Friday, I was in Portugal. So it was like Friday afternoon was when I like sent the email to the whole list of like, I'm launching this paid thing and you can give me your money if you maybe want to. And then we went out for dinner. And I remember like, I was like, I don't want to look at my phone. I'm going to send this email. I'm going to look at it until tomorrow. I don't want to know. It's like getting, test results back. You want to look at it, but you don't want to look at it. And we came back from dinner and like girlfriend sat there like, you should really open it. I don't want to look at it. I don't want to do it. Anyway, I open my inbox and there's like payments. I'm like, oh my God, this is insane. So like that moment is probably the moment where I'm like, holy crap, like I can put something on the internet. And like, I think that's a really pivotal moment. But then, like getting a new house, getting a new car, whatever it is, it just kind of levels up from there. And now maybe that would like that same experience wouldn't excite me as much, because you change the rules of your own game, like what you consider successful or what you consider possible change. So like once you've done that, then you've evidenced to yourself like, okay, I can do that. So then your mind starts to wonder to like, what's the next thing that I could maybe do? And then you're like, well, I don't know if I can do it yet. So let's try and do that. And then you don't get that same hit until you go and do that. And then it's again and again and again. So it changes from having a paid product to consumers, to then selling like advertising space to businesses, then offering services to businesses, then running a course, and that's just my short kind of, that's just my version. Everybody's version will be totally different,
Sure. On the flip side, was there ever a moment, maybe after that or something, where some big challenge came up, wasn't going well, that you considered, I can't do this, or I have to stop, or the point where it's like really made you consider leaving or quitting or stopping?
Yeah, I think like in the early days, like not even early days, I don't know, maybe like mid. There's often like you'll probably, if you're sensible, you probably set some expectation for yourself of like, this is something that I want to have done by this time. And I think that it's really important to do that, because that inherently tells you you're inherently telling yourself that it is achievable, like it changes the game a bit from like, can I do it, to, well, yes, obviously I can do it, and I'm going to do it by this date. So there's a bit of a subconscious thing there that's, you're telling yourself that you definitely can do it. I don't always operate like that, or I wasn't operating like that. I was operating in this space of like, well, let's think about something that's really ludicrous or that seems ludicrous, and then make that the challenge to try and do it. And then what you learn is like, actually, maybe some of the stuff that seems like total nonsense is not actually that nonsense. It's actually very achievable. So I think for me, the hard parts are when you don't do the thing in the time frame that you think you can do it in. Because then it becomes like, when that happens, then you start to question, maybe it's not achievable. And especially if your timeline is related to like to finances, right, then it becomes, then you start thinking more about cash flow and not putting effort into actually achieving it. Mm-hmm. So yeah, there's definitely been like, it's probably been like 2 or 3 really key moments where I've gone like, maybe this isn't the thing. And that's fine. Like, I think it's like important, like normally what follows that is like a bit of a transformation, like a bit of a pivot or a bit of just a change. So you kind of need those moments. The other thing is like, how do you know if a painting is finished? You know, like it's just never done. Like, right, you've not failed until you've completely quit. So it being wrong is just you successfully figuring out what doesn't work.
Right. Yeah, thank you for sharing, because I think it's important to go over those moments, because I think everybody that has a business, I mean, the more I talk to people that are entrepreneurs, like they all have those moments. It's not just up and to the right consistently forever, you know? And I like the way you put it of like, really those are just lessons, and you only fail when you give up, right? Like something doesn't happen. It's, okay, well, I got to get back off the mat and like, okay, change something, right? And it's really hard to do that, but the people that are successful, I think, are continue to keep getting up or make a big change at these points and like figure things out at those times.
Yeah. You want to shorten the amount of time that it takes you to learn that. I think that's the big one. Like, because it can get really dark. You're like, what if this is all wrong? What if the grand vision, like what if the tree that I saw blossoming is actually not as big as I think it is? Or, you know, what if I'm not capable? Like maybe if somebody else was doing this, they'd be more successful at it than I am because I'm not good enough to do it. Like those are the kind of questions that come in. So it can get not healthy, but I think realizing that it is just it's a cycle, and that like it's kind of like meant to happen, and internalizing that, and the faster you do that, then the faster you come out of that flow. It's like nothing is ever as good or as bad as it seems.
So you mentioned briefly the first business. So it's called Remote Base for everybody. And you mentioned it's a newsletter. That's also another label maybe that you have, is like the newsletter guy, because that was your first business. Also the second with Nomad Trip Reports. And you know, and the third even more so, which we'll get to. But I'm curious, with newsletters specifically, was it always like from the beginning, was it just this is the business idea you had and okay, the newsletter is going to be the thing, or is that was just one like prong of the business maybe and it grew into it? Like when did newsletters really for you become the thing, would you say?
Listen, I can tell you exactly when. So when I was working in that job, I was covering for a colleague who was on leave. So all of their emails were getting redirected to me. And obviously there was loads of important work stuff for me to look at, but I didn't want to look at that. So they got this email, and it was an email newsletter called The Hustle, which is like now like in the industry. It's like known for being, it's really well known. Like the guy built it really, really big. It turned into a whole media company, podcast, everything. And then he sold it to HubSpot for like undisclosed, but like, tens of millions of dollars. And I remember reading it and being like, this is not an email I was expecting to read today. This is awesome. Like, and maybe doing the thing that you identify is the entrepreneurial thinker in me. I'm like reverse engineering, like, how do these guys make money out of this? Well, it's all of like the affiliate links, it's all of the advertising, they've got their own products that they sell, blah, 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 blah. I was like, oh, that's a really cool business. So I signed myself up. She came back from leave and started getting her emails again. And I signed myself up to this mailing list. And I think that was like the first time that I realized like email content could be a business. And then, pair that with other, a different type of email business, which is like in the UK, we have Jack's Cheap Flights. Like if you're from the US or like in North America, they have like Scott's Cheap Flights, which is now rebranded to Going, or Dollar Flight Club, like Matt's Flights, like these kind of like flight hacking emails. And they just monitor prices and like alert you when there's a good deal. And that became the vehicle that I was trying to like recreate for like with remote base. The difference being that we do it with Airbnb deals, like long stay Airbnb deals, which was like the product that I wanted for myself when we started to travel nomadically and wanted to stay for more than a month, and just realizing that like, I think I was looking at a place in Portugal and it was like 79% discount if you stay for the month, which is just like
crazy.
It's stupid.
Yeah.
So I was like ferociously adding things to my Airbnb wish list. Like, let's stay in this one and this one and this one and this one. And it just got to the point where you couldn't possibly stay in them all. So I was already in some like Slack channels and these different rogue online forums in 2016 for remote work. And so I started to share there like, hey, this is a thing. Would people be interested in seeing more of these kind of deals? And people put their hand up. So then it was about, okay, well, do I make it like an Instagram account or a Facebook group or whatever? But with all of the context of me seeing how email can be a business, I was like, why would I not just have the email list and like own it, and not have any like, not be dependent on any platform or any algorithm? So that's kind of how it came about.
And so remote base, for context, it gives these crazy deals on Airbnbs around the world in the newsletter, and there's different like paid version as well.
By the time this goes out, the paid version may not exist anymore.
Okay. For me, I think I'm similar to you where like I really nerd out on that stuff. But for somebody like Paige, for example, who for a long time was flowing kind of in her travels and doesn't quite necessarily need to or like to look for Airbnbs for hours and hours, I think it's like perfect for that person where it's like, okay, this is an incredible deal. Let me jump on this.
Right.
And I think it's really, really cool. And then you started the second one, Digital Nomad Trip Reports. Can you kind of talk about what that is and the story there?
Yeah. So after running the first newsletter business for a while, like, here's the thing, like, if you tell me 10 years ago I'm going to be running an email newsletter, like an email-based, any business that is related to email, I'd be like, shut up, email's boring. No. But then running one, I realized, this is actually really cool. Like, something that, it's a fun business because it's so lean and there's not a lot of like, to some extent there is, but like, it's not like, for example, like having a YouTube account that makes money or an Instagram account that makes money, where it's like there's so much like visual identity that needs to be edited and maintained, and you lose control over a lot of it with algorithms. But running the first one taught me that I really like actually the vehicle of email. So then it became like, okay, well, can I do something else? Can I do another one? Or like, you know, what would I do differently? And I wanted this one to be, I learned a lot of lessons from the first one. You know, like we send an email and it's got some amazing deals in it, but like 1 week after we send it, it's done. Like the prices have changed or the availability has changed.
Right.
So it's not really evergreen content. It's so ephemeral. It kind of sucks, you know, to put all of the energy and the effort into building that thing for it to just be dead. So for the next one, I wanted to build something that was going to be more long lasting, and kind of like have a bit more of a lifespan. So with Trip Reports, like the idea with Trip Reports, like the URL is digitalnomadtripreports.com, which is a really hard URL to say, but it is exactly what, like, we do exactly what we say we are.
Yeah.
So the way this works is, and this was actually inspired by another email newsletter that I was receiving, which is called like no degree CS or something, or like, and it's like it's a guy that interviews software developers who don't have a degree. So like they've not studied software development, or computer science, CS, that's what it is, computer science. So like no degree CS. And he basically, it's interview format. So he captures all of this data through probably an online form, and then he sends it to an email list. And like, if you're in that space, it's really cool because it's aspirational to see other people who achieve this and not and don't have a degree. And then they might also share lots of tips about like, how you can do it too.
Yeah, how they taught themselves.
Right. And then, you know, he's got like the full lay of the landscape. So he can see the themes in different things. He can speak to sponsors who might be software development tools that this audience is interested in. Really interesting. So I was like reading that one out of interest, and I really like the format. And then something that happens in the digital nomad space is you get somewhere and these conversations like echo in the hallways of like co-working spaces or like popular cafes or co-living spaces. It's like, you know, top 5 questions. What's your name? Where you from? Where you going? Where have you been? And there's another 5th question. But like the where you're going and where you've been, they're like so key. And they all of these conversations happen. They happen one to one. And what you find is there's these like vector locations where lots of people find themselves before or after they go to similar places. So I meet you in Chiang Mai and you've been to Bangkok, but I've just been in Bali, and you're going to Bali next and I'm going to Bangkok next. And so obviously there's this huge transfer of information that happens.
Where to go, Chris?
Right.
And I'm going here. Where do I go? What's all the best things
What
I
area
need
did you
to do?
stay in? Oh, I've been looking at this co-working space. Do you rate it? And really, Digital Nomad Trip Reports was about taking that conversation and making it one to many. And we just kind of blatantly copied the model from No Degree CS. It's like we have a form, we pushed it to all of our readers. Some of our readers want to share, some don't, and that's completely okay. But some people want to, like, I guess, give back to the earlier version of themselves where like they had no idea what to do or where to go in that place.
Or they're tired of answering the same questions about the location, so they fill out the trip report and they can just send that
send
URL.
So like we incentivize people to fill out the form by like one of the questions on the form is like, where can people connect with you? A lot of people are like building their own projects and they want to share their website or their platform or whatever it is. So there's a bit of a give for the get, but I think that's worth it in that scenario. And it's only a small list. It's like 2,500 people. but it's the engagement's so good because it's all community led. It's like it's not me shouting from the rooftops about all of these places. It's like real content from real people who are just like you, who can tell you like very real things about the place that you're interested in going to. And it also kind of combats like what you see online is if you just Google best co-working places in Lisbon, like probably the top 10 articles have all got they've all got the same recommendations because they're all working on the same affiliate agreements, and all of the SEO, like it's kind of like gamed up. The SEO game works that way. Or you Google a location and you get loads of like tourist/travel type results, and you don't really get the nomad lens on things. And so this is a good way to like filter out all of the SEO pumped stuff and also get a guaranteed nomad view on it.
Yeah, I think there are awesome resources for anybody who's already nomading. You know, these are places to go. Trip reports, this is what to do there. Go here if you like this, or don't go if you don't like that. As well as if you're just wanting to nomad one day, you can subscribe and like get a feeling of prices in places with accommodations, with places that start, checking off that bucket list of like, okay, this is what I, really want to go to. So you built these 2 newsletters. When did you have the idea, and how did Mad Banana Media come about?
Mad Banana Media is like, paint the context picture first. Like, this is basically a consulting. I call it like the home of my own publications, which also has a consulting arm. So after building the first 2, or like as part of building the first 2, I tried to do like the whole nomad speaking circuit. So there's all these different events and conferences around the world where people can go and meet other nomads and network and socialize and all this good stuff. And I was going to these events and I was getting on stage and talking about the topic, or talking about, like, not even really talking about remote base directly, because that's just salesy and it sucks. Yep. But like talking about things that are pertinent to accommodation and like challenges in that space and all the rest of it. And then what would happen is I'd come off stage, or like hands would go up in the audience, and nobody wanted to ask anything about accommodation, or like everyone, like more people were interested in talking about the fact that this was a business that was email than the content topic, for the most part. And this is something maybe when I did the first few talks, like a bit earlier on, probably the questions and the response was more like, in my mind, relevant. But then as like some big things happened in like in the content space, like I think 2024 like was when Google just tanked everyone's blogs because they had this big update and SEO was kind of like killed. Some people lost like 90 to 100% of their business overnight. And it just highlighted the fact that algorithms were in control if you're relying on somebody else's platform. So then email came like back to the fore and was front of mind for a lot of business owners. And so after that, and we're at the start of 2026 now. So like for the last 18 months, more and more and more, I was receiving questions and people wanted to talk to me about email. And I kind of held it all at arm's length for a long time because I was, building my own publications and building this like media. I call it a media fort because I think empire is a bit grandiose. But me building a media fort was the priority, and like doing work for other people was like, I'm like, why would I help you with your email thing when I could just put my time and energy into building a whole publication of my own? I kind of held, I was very resistant to it. And then it was like, there was one event where somebody was asking me about this, and it was just like so astonishing to me, like the things that they didn't know. I was like, wow, like I really know stuff that other people don't know. That's interesting.
What is one of the top things that you see creators or people with email lists doing wrong?
They care too much about the platform. That's probably the biggest one.
The platform that they're on.
Right. Or like the platform, like one of the first questions is like, well, what platform should I use? And it makes perfect sense because it's like, chronologically, this is how you make decisions, right? It's like, I'm going to build an email list. Okay, where are you going to build it? Oh, I need to make a decision about that. And then you just get into this paralysis because all of the providers do a really good job at marketing themselves. And they all basically do the same thing. You know, it's like all cars take you from A to B. But all of their marketing and their branding and their positioning is totally different. So you can get stalled there. And some of them are more expensive than others. Some of them are more powerful than others. But the one that kills me every time is like, people ask me this. They're like, which one should I use? Like, it's like the first question they ask me. Like, I don't know their name. And they ask me what platform they should use. I'm like, well, what are you trying to do? I think it's really a lot more important to figure out what you want to achieve with email, because there's all these different, like, remote base makes money in a very different way to Trip Reports,
right,
to another publication that I'm involved with, to all of the different clients that I work with. So I would start with what you're trying to achieve and then figure out from there, like, then you can make a much better assessment of like what features you care about or want or are willing to pay for or not pay for. And go from there. That's the big one.
And because, I mean, there's Beehive, there's, what are even the big top email places, would you say?
Yeah.
Substack is kind of an adjacent one.
Substack's having a moment. Substack's is in the spotlight a lot. It's okay. There's an argument to say that it's not really an email platform, that it's a social networking platform.
Right.
But yeah, Beehive's the big one. All of my own publications run on Beehive, bar one, which is run somewhere else because the goals are very different. And yeah, probably the other big one that I see a lot of people use that is good is Kit, the artist formerly known as ConvertKit. And the other one that I have that's not on Beehive is on MailerLite, because it's just a very good entry level platform. And then there's others that I don't really like to badmouth brands, so I won't say the names of other ones.
But I think it's really important, and I hear you, or I see you talk a lot online about owning your audience. And like you said, we have friends that are bloggers and stuff like that, and Google kind of owns if you make money on their blog, it's usually from ads, and Google kind of owns all of your traffic. Same thing if you're a creator on Instagram, wherever. Something could happen to that algorithm, could completely change your, money coming in overnight. Where email, you own the audience. Would you say that's probably one of the biggest differences in like pulls to email?
Yeah, 100%. Like, even like, you can lose your login for Instagram.
Yeah.
Or it can get hacked. Like, right. I mean, arguably you can do the same thing with email, but like, at least you can like download all of your emails monthly or quarterly or whatever as like a safety net. And then if you do lose access, okay, you still have the list. Long term, like, I think email is like a long term game. It's like buying the water resources or the land. It's like, don't rely on an intermediary, like go and take ownership. I'd rather have like a smaller audience that I own than a really big audience that is gated. Like 10,000 person email list or 1 million people on Instagram. What do you choose?
Yeah. I want to go back to one thing, because we talked about the labels in entrepreneur and digital nomad. Big ones for you, I see it as. I'm curious on your thoughts, Chris, on being a digital nomad and an entrepreneur. Do you think that they play nice with each other? Do you think they complement? No? Can you expand on that? What are the challenges that come with it?
Oh, it's like you're just playing the game on hard. You're just playing it on hard mode all the time. You're just constantly trying to beat the final boss. Like, there's no, and this is another one of those things, another one of those moments where you're like, could I have been more successful with that launch if I was just like not traveling for the last 6 months? Like, would it be better if I had a routine and like was able to build a stable network in one location? Maybe. Yeah, probably. Damn. Maybe I messed up. Like, yeah, I don't think they play nice. I think I don't know. Grass is always greener, isn't it? So maybe, or here's the things that I see as the downfall. No stability, zero stability. And what that means is you struggle to have like a daily routine. Your social needs are, your social needs are the same, but what you get is very different. And so that kind of bleeds into like your own, like your personal support network is not, it's like harder to know that you can trust the people that are around you because you only just met them. And so, you have to like build these relationships. And then kind of like professional networking is a lot more difficult because you're moving and the people around you are moving a lot. So it's also harder to build, to build professional networks. And yeah, like I think routine is the big one. It's like, it just kills routine. This is why staying longer is more important, I think. But then, on the flip side, it's like, okay, so I don't have a stable local professional network, but I have a global online network. So the pros and cons, but I think output, what it means for like actual output, like routine can be really impactful for your output. You might think, like, I've told myself that like I can lock in no matter what at whatever time after however many hours on a plane, and the truth is you just can't. Like, you might tell yourself that you can, and you might do it, you might log on and you get locked in, but like what you produce is just going to be inferior to what it would be if you hadn't just got off that flight or didn't have 4 hours of sleep or whatever it is. So yeah, I don't think they play nice at all.
I think we, especially on Instagram and social media, the nomad life is very much glorified, especially in entrepreneurship. Like, they both are in their own ways, right? But yeah, it is now I'm getting into entrepreneurship. I'm hopefully going to be launching the business in about a month. Started the podcast.
Woohoo!
Thank you. When I was at the 9 to 5, it was way easier to get into a routine. And now with this, I get in somewhere, and before I'd only travel on Saturdays, right? So Sunday was like settle in, Monday I start work. Now we're traveling on the cheapest day to fly, so we are flying on a Wednesday.
Tuesday, Wednesday, yeah.
And then all of a sudden Thursday, it's like, well, I'm settling in, and then Friday it's almost the weekend. Like, why not work then? And all of a sudden it's 2 weeks in, and you don't have a routine. You just kind of never take that time, especially when you don't have any set structure for you. It does take a lot of that extra effort, right? And like you said, the deepening connections, I think on the flip side, the potential is that you just meet so many more people. So the people that you do really connect with, like, you have more, I guess, opportunity than maybe at home, where sometimes you might not be, unless you're really putting yourself out there.
Yeah.
Be meeting as many. But I appreciate the honesty, because I think nomading and entrepreneurship is definitely not for everybody, and especially combined, not for everybody as well. And I think it's good that we talk about the honest realities of them both, right?
Yeah, and also depends where home is. Like, you might have loads of opportunity at home if you're somewhere that's relevant for your business. If not, then yeah, the variety that you'll get on the road is way better.
Has being a nomad taught you anything about entrepreneurship, would you say?
I think it's like the best place to practice resilience, which is, it's a very transferable skill. Because, you know, you like even when you had a job, or even when I had a job, you would land in a place and you're like, oh, okay, like I'm absolutely shot. I've not really slept. We just got off this flight. I don't know what country I'm in. I don't know what day it is. I don't have data. I don't know where I'm staying. I don't know what the currency conversion is. Mm-hmm. I don't know the way out of the building. Like, how do I get to where I'm sleeping tonight? And that's like, that can be very testing. And so, yeah, I think resilience, I would say, is the big one. I think if you're really resilient already, it will make you more resilient. And if you're not resilient, it'll help you build it.
Yeah, I like to say like the little things become really hard. Like,
yeah.
Laundry has been one of the things I've struggled with almost the most, like my first year of nomading. You know, I never done like the clotheslines and stuff. And I remember I did it once in Bulgaria and I didn't put the pins on and I came home and everything was scattered. I did it once in France and it was like the clotheslines over the street.
Oh, nice.
All of a sudden 3 shirts were just gone, lost to the alleyway. The little things, like you said, just build up and they become hard. And that can be very exhausting, especially when you're traveling quick. But on the other side, to me, it's also empowering because you're constantly being forced to learn. And like you're building that muscle of like doing things on kind of hard mode in a way.
Yeah, I wonder like how it changes us, like how it changes our brain. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Chris, I appreciate you coming on, man. There's so many more questions that I have for you. I think at some point we're going to have to do a part 2. There's so many things that we didn't get to. But I really appreciate all of your wisdom that you shared with me. I know in starting my new business, the newsletter is definitely going to be a part of it. Where can people go to follow along with the journey, to, get on the newsletters, to ask you about helping them with their newsletter?
That's a very good question. LinkedIn is the best place to connect with me professionally, like long term, or like in a more passive way. Obviously DM me there if you want to talk about email. Or you can also look at, I'll give you links for everything, for the different emails: remotebase.co, digitalnomadtripreports.com, chriscerra.com will also be a place that houses all of these links. And then with Mad Banana Media, like we have madbananamedia.com, which is more about the consulting side. And then just this week, I launched a program, like an online cohort program, live cohort, that's going to run in March. And it's super limited. So there's only like 4 seats available on that. One of them is gone. But that if someone already has a list, already has an audience, and is like, doesn't have ownership, or wants to level up, that could be a program that's interesting to you. Is that right now it's like invitation only, but connect with me and say hello, and I'll be able to share all the details with you.
Awesome. Last question for you. We've talked a lot about your journey on the dirt path, right? Choosing to nomad, your journey into entrepreneurship. Why take the dirt path for you? I mean, we've talked a lot about the difficulties of both of them, and especially when they're combined. It's not easy on the dirt path. You're kind of constantly questioning things. So why the dirt path for you?
Just fast forward to like the day that you die, and just ask yourself if that's really what you want. And it might be what you want, and that's absolutely okay. But like, I think I want to like, someone once said to me, an old colleague said to me, when we finish life, we should be skidding across the line. And I was like, yeah, that's how I want to go. I want to go like giving it absolutely everything. And I think this is like, for me, it fulfills me in that way. And for other people, it won't. It'll be like scary and horrible and they don't want to do it. Don't do it. But if you think it might be exciting for you, then it probably will be.
Beautiful. Chris, I appreciate you, man.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Dirt Path podcast. You can find any links to support or follow today's Trailblazer in the description below. If you got this far and really liked today's episode, it would mean a lot if you could give us a 5 stars wherever you found this podcast. Subscribe and like on YouTube. And email us. Email us at thedirtpathpodcast@gmail.com to give us feedback, to give us an update of you on your own dirt path, or to send us questions, as we might be doing some Q&A episodes in the future. All right. We'll see you next time here on the Dirt Path.
Saw the exit sign flash by, a whisper in the breeze said take a chance, don't wonder why, just follow where it leads. Oh, the dirt path, it ain't easy, no map to guide the way. Slow and hard, sometimes uneasy, you stumble through the clay. No signs to tell you where you're bound, no traffic to obey. But every step on broken ground builds something great someday.